Ever walk into a room and instantly, just like that, feel the mood?
Oh, yeah.
It's palpable, right?
Totally.
Like you can almost taste the tension,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's just like one person, and they're just bringing this gloomy mood and kind of dragging everybody down with them.
Yeah, you just feel it. You walk in, you're like, oh, this is the energy today.
Exactly. And it turns out there's a reason we pick up on that. And Robert Greene, he calls it infection.
Infection.
Yeah, and he lays out this whole concept in Law 10 of the 48 Laws of Power.
Okay, so this week we're diving into Law 10, avoiding the unhappy and unlucky.
That's right, avoiding that emotional quicksand, And what I find fascinating is that this isn't some like ancient strategy just for rulers or, emperors or something.
Right.
It's really about like a fundamental truth about human nature.
Yeah. Emotions are contagious.
They really are. They're contagious.
Think about it. You can catch a cold just by being around someone who's sick.
Oh, for sure.
This is the same thing, but with feelings, with mindsets. Spend enough time around negativity and, well, it's going to rub off on you.
Okay, so then what makes someone an infection in the Greenian sense? Is it just having a streak of bad luck or what?
So Greene uses unlucky more to describe a mindset, It's the kind of person who always sees the downside first.
Yep.
They attract drama, or they're constantly blaming external factors for their problems, playing the victim.
Oh, I know exactly the type you're talking about.
Right. Now imagine surrounding yourself with that constantly.
Oof, yeah. It'd be exhausting.
It is exhausting, it's draining, and Greene's point is this directly impacts your power.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about it. Would you trust someone's judgment if they're constantly surrounded by chaos? Or if they're making decisions based on fear instead of clear thinking?
That's a really good point.
Their thinking becomes muddled, and that influences how others see them, how seriously they take them.
It's not just about like vibes then, it's about how those vibes affect your reputation.
Exactly. And speaking of history, Greene actually brings up a pretty compelling example, Julius Caesar.
Oh, right. He talks about Caesar in this chapter.
He does, and it's a classic case of how even someone so powerful can be vulnerable to this law of infection. Caesar, victories, political maneuvering, the whole 9 yards, but
Quite.
he had this habit of surrounding himself with, well, let's just say, envious and resentful people.
Oh, so you're saying having a bad support system, like actually did Caesar in?
In a way, yes. See, Greene argues that Caesar's inability to recognize those emotional vampires, the people feeding off his energy, his ambition, ultimately that played a part in his downfall.
That's crazy when you think about it. Like our connections can either build us up or completely undermine us.
That's the point Greene is making.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap?
It always starts with awareness.
Okay.
You got to look around and who knows, maybe even look in the mirror a little, right? Who consistently leaves you feeling drained or negative after interacting with them?
That's a good point. It's like, who do you leave a conversation with and you just feel worse than when you went in?
Exactly. That's your first clue. Now, this isn't about like abandoning friends who are going through a tough time.
Right. You don't have to write people off for having a bad day or a bad week.
Of course not. But it's about recognizing patterns and being a bit more strategic with your emotional investments.
Oh, okay. I like that. Emotional investments. Tell me more.
Think of your energy as a currency. You wouldn't just invest in any company. You want to invest in something you think is going to grow. You wouldn't put your money into something destined to fail, right?
Right.
It's the same with people. Greene is urging you to be discerning about where you invest that emotional capital.
That is such a powerful way to look at it. Instead of just enduring these energy drains, we should be more proactive, more actively cultivate a more positive inner circle.
Absolutely. Seek out people who inspire you, who challenge you in a good way to grow, people who just radiate this enthusiasm and resilience. Their energy becomes yours.
Yeah, their resourcefulness, their knowledge,
Mm.
pick up on all that. Okay, last thought before we wrap up this deep dive. If we're constantly bombarded by negativity, whether it's online, at work, or even in our families, how do we protect ourselves without becoming totally isolated?
That's the million-dollar question, right? How do you live in the world and not let the world live rent-free in your head? And this is where Greene's Law really challenges us to become masters of our own emotional environments. It's not just about who we let into our lives, but what we allow to influence our thoughts and our actions.
That's a big one.
It is. And you have the power to choose what you engage with, what you feed your mind, and ultimately who you allow to shape your perception of the world. It's all a choice.
So much to think about. Until next time.
See you next time.